I'm today with Joe discussing imminent threat of 15-minute cities. It sounds like something good, innocent, but the reality of this um, agenda is quite worrying. And Joe did live video, which I watched, and explained in a simple language what is to be expected from those 15 minutes down. So, Joe, if you can introduce yourself and tell us what it's all about with those 15-minute cities.
Hello, everybody. My name's Jo Lefferboe, and I live up in Burnley in Lancashire. And for a long time now, I've been aware of the plans of these 15-minute cities coming in. And there was a protest going on in Oxford because this was the first city that they were supposed to be trialling it out with. So last Saturday, there was a protest going on in Oxford. So quite a few of us from my local area went down just to kind of, stand with Oxford and with everybody who travelled in from all different parts of the UK to support Oxford against this 15-minute cities. Um, so what my video was saying is that so many people maybe not really understand why we took the effort to go all the way down to Oxford, and might not really understand about the dark side of these 15-minute cities that they're planning. Because on the whole, it sounds great, doesn't it, that they're going to improve our areas, that we can have everything in reach within 15 minutes. Your schools, your parks, your shops, transport, whatever they're going to give us in these 15-minute cities, with the promise that it's going to improve our areas. But the dark side of this is that they're monitoring and surveilling the surveillance that will go on, that every move that you make will be recorded and captured on these cameras that they've got on the 5G that's making this something that they can use to track out every move. And this will mean that you will get triggered, fined if you go out of your 15-minute cities. You're going to have a certain amount of time. What they're promising us now is that you can go 100 days and travel, out of that 15-minute zone. Can we trust that? But anyway, you will get triggered a fine. Now, whilst I was in Oxford, a lovely man came up to me and asked, I don't understand why you're protesting. If we don't want to pay these fines, we just won't pay them. But this is the worrying thing, because everything's connected. So the digital, like they're trying to get rid of cash, aren't they? And they're trying to make everything digitalized. They're trying to make sure that we're in these 15-minute zones. And if you get triggered with a fine, they will automatically take it out of your bank accounts. You won't have a choice whether to pay it or not. And it's all about control. It's about controlling our every move, limiting our, freedom of movement, limiting our choice. My daughter lives down in London. I want to know I can go and travel to her whenever I want, not be told by somebody that I've gone above my 15 minutes and I'm not allowed to go to visit my daughter. So this is what we're all really worried about. And to me, it's all about our children. Our children need us to stand up and to start asking questions and to start saying that we don't want this to happen. Because I don't know about you, but when I was younger, I did a lot of travelling. I had the freedom to go and choose if I wanted to go to travel to Australia, or I wanted to go backpacking around Southeast Asia or wherever. And I want that freedom to be available for my children. And I'm sure you want that for your children as well. So that is why we're really concerned about these 15-minute cities, And at the moment, if you try and Google any information about the 15-minute cities, it's all coming from these rosy pictures of how it's going to really benefit you. And they're going to kind of promise that clean air and that, lowering the climate change and all this kind of, well, propaganda that want you to believe in. But we have to really look at the bigger picture. There's so much happening, and it's happening quick and fast. And people in Oxford, a lot of them didn't seem to be bothered that this is coming in, because already it's a city that they use a lot of bikes, and they live in a beautiful area. They've got gorgeous shops, parks, and all the amenities. But we've got to think about everybody, haven't we? And we've got to think about how is this going to affect our country, and the limitations that it'll put on us all. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. For sure, and this is something that people are completely unaware of. When I just reached protests on Saturday, before I got there, I noticed police stopping members of Antifa who wanted to cause some disturbance, and I started filming this. And I was approached by one of Oxford residents, and he said, "What's that protest about?" And I said, haven't you heard about those zones?" And he looked at me and laughed, like, "Do you believe in that?" Uh, so what people don't understand, obviously, I sympathize if somebody wants to walk or use their push bike. Nobody is stopping them, but the notion that you will have to be penalized for not doing so is completely out of proportion. And then another thing, what you mentioned, this 100 trips by car, this is divided by household. So if you got three cars, that's then 33 trips for each car.
Yeah.
And this even consists like traveling, commuting to work. So if you're working outside of those zones, so-called zones, you will be penalized for going to work. It's completely out of proportion. And worryingly enough, because this is all coming under a new banner, C40's Town, with the leadership of Sadiq Khan in London. There will be conference in March. What they done, they're giving new proposal. In London, we've got those. We got two types of charges. We got congestion charge when you enter town center, and then you got ULEZ, like emission standards. So certain vehicles will pay this, or some vehicles they might be exempt from ULEZ charges. So you might be charged twice on the same day. So what they're proposing is literally that any travel, whether you're walking by foot, whether
Mhm.
you're passenger in car. So let's say if we are sitting by five in one car, all of us will be charged.
Yeah.
That's like completely
It's the
bonkers.
individual, isn't it, that's getting charged, not the vehicle.
And I watched this on the channel on YouTube. The Jeff buys cars, and he basically printed out their proposal and just highlighted the points. It sounds like utter dystopia, and they're literally proposing this. They want to introduce this in December this year, so they're really acting fast. And like,
No, it's fast, yeah.
so how do you find like? How did you find out about this yourself? And like, do you find that people are getting more concerned because, let's say, with the pandemic, the people they were scared into it, but then with more and more restriction coming from every single angle, do you notice that people are actually starting understanding what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it might be completely unrelated, but for the last 3 days, I've had friends messaging me saying that in their towns that they're noticing that the traffic lights are not working properly, and they're kind of really delaying movement and causing chaos and traffic jams. and so people are struggling to get to work. It might have been only 8 minutes before, and now it's 25 minutes. And I just put a post out on Facebook just saying, just out of interest, what's it like in your town and city? Is your town and city having these disruptions which are building up frustration, like about the ease and flow of the traffic? Now, it might be unrelated because lots of people were saying, oh, it's at the end of the tax season and they're just, spending their money and doing roadworks willy nilly as they do. But what if it's not? What if it is about them really causing a problem, as they like to do, and then creating this solution, which is the 15-minute cities, to try and get us to accept them? Um, there's so many of us who are just really questioning everything now, aren't we? We're really not believing anything that they tell us, and especially on the news. um, Most
The,
people I know are, I've got something on the wall there. It doesn't connect to any mainstream media thing. I can get Netflix on it, and that's about it. It's a really old, ancient TV. I just do never turn on the news because to me, it's just all propaganda. We think that, when we think of propaganda, we think it's what they use when there's a war. But to me, they're using propaganda 24/7, really influencing the way that we think, influencing politics, influencing, people to turn against each other, and, to divide us. And that to me is a really big issue because we really need to unite. There's, so many of us who know that there's something wrong. We can feel it. It's like that frequency. We know that this is wrong, and we need to kind of really come together, stop getting divided and influenced by what the media are trying to do to try and divide us.
I com- I completely agree, and that's why I started doing this podcast to have more regular guests discussing what's going on because we are not getting that information. On 25th Saturday's moment, we've got protest in Sheffield. What they're doing here, they're introducing clear air zone charges as part of pretty much the same restriction of movement because they will be charging business vehicles, but how long it will take before they will start charge any car and they will basically penalize people for driving. And for sure, even if you will take the same idea of having all your necessary services within 15 minutes radius, it doesn't sound bad. But then when you add penalizing you for leaving your home, and in that C40 document, literally the emphasis was for not that we will all have to pay, regardless whether you will go by foot, you will be passenger in a car, or you will ride on a horse.
Yeah,
Then still you will be charged, and it's not enough that you will get charged. You will have limit of those journeys, and you will have to like justify the journey, and you will have to be aware of the environmental toll of you walking to see your granny or picking your children from school. Where did we come to this dystopia? It's
exactly.
absolutely
If it was about
bonkers.
the climate zone, climate, then they would obviously just be focusing on the cars. But no, it's all about the individual. And me just breathing and walking to go to the gym, I'll get charged. It's crazy.
Tax for breathing is coming.
Mm.
That's how it seems. Um, what can we do about this except for marches? Do you have any ideas that people can engage
I think
and
it's about raising people's awareness about it because at the moment people aren't aware of what they're even planning and how it will really impact every single one of us. won't it? It won't be just. I saw somebody yesterday talking about AI and how AI will take over our businesses. So that, people will just, instead of going for a copywriter, they'll go for an AI, or instead of going for a coach, they'll go for an AI coach. And people are just thinking how that will impact their businesses. But if we've got AI tracking our every single movement and surveillance and charging us and us having to have digital IDs and even microchipped, it's just getting crazy. It's just very much like what we see happening in China, and we don't want that to come to us, do we? And it's
Definitely.
not just the UK. This is the problem. It's global, and we know that agenda is being happening right now in every country. It's not just the UK.
It would be fair enough to say, like, okay, we need to change as a civilization, but this is not change proposed for all of us. This is like reverting to feudal times, where just a handful of people will have all the power, all the property, and will be deprived of everything. So I wouldn't mind to see, let's say, Boris Johnson giving off his material possession, or likes of Klaus Schwab and World Economical Forum, giving it all away, and then jumping on the bikes. Then maybe you and me will take example and follow
Mm,
the suit. But that's not what they want. They want to keep their private jets, all the privileged position, and they just want to enforce it, and they want to put all sorts of restriction and behavioral control, because that's where it all boils down to. That's what they're pushing on us. So you will have to not just pay, but also feel guilty that you left your home. That's absolutely
yeah.
crazy.
There was a little girl who spoke at the protests in Oxford. She was only 12 years old. She was amazing. Did you see her?
Yes.
Yeah. And she was talking about the greedy people being like, you know, Sinek and Klaus Schwab and everybody who are obviously putting all this influence on our government, who are just the puppets, who are just, following orders from these high and mighty kind of absolute evil so-called leaders who haven't been elected by us to completely control us. And we can't let this happen. I don't really know the solution because there's so many more of us. We need to really come together and stop being so putting our head in the sand, because this is coming.
In some way, I think we also allowed this to happen because we trusted government and institution too much. So
Yeah.
I'd like to see democracy reinvigorated. Obviously, protests, they're just part of it.
Mm,
They try to outlaw the protests. So if you really look at the mechanics that they're using, they want to completely surround us and deprive us of meanings to resist.
yeah.
To my disappointment, I checked the definition of the fascism, and that's literally state colluding with big businesses and basically censoring and squashing any dissent. And that's where we found ourselves. We got two unelected prime ministers. We've got, I thought British people voted Brexit. We are still under influence of unelected bureaucrats, and that was the sentiment that led to Brexit votes. So
Mm,
how come the people who voted for Brexit and wanted that freedom don't engage, don't oppose? We got
mm,
half a country on strike, all the groups really being on the street, from postmen now to firefighters wanting to join in. It seems like we're having like tipping point. I'm trying to find that clip. Would
yeah.
they go?
And this is okay. It's getting quite worrying, though, isn't it? Because we know that lots of people are talking about civil unrest will happen soon. Um, but then we have this big worry that we know that in the hotels, that they've already got a lot of young, apparently, refugees, but they're all male, fighting age, no children, no families. And why? Why? Somebody sent me a list the other day. And there's hundreds and hundreds of our hotels being paid for by our government, housing these young men. And you've got to question why. Just 2 hotels close to me apparently have all these young men being put up by our government. And is that because they know that once we rise up, our military won't turn against the people? I don't know. That's why it just feels very suspicious. Are you still
That's
trying?
yes, yes. Now I'm just trying to download this clip with that girl, um,
Oh yeah.
so we can play this. It's a worrying development, and the speed of this is like people don't understand that when they think that they will have choice, that they will be deprived of choice because then you can just get charged. And then another thing is like I'm from Poland originally, and I understand history of Poland, and we were under communistic regime, and we came to situation when whole economy was wrecked, and there was period with the rationing. So people they would only have like food coupon, food stamps, and they would be only issued for a certain quantity of goods, so you could only buy X amount of milk, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And that's literally with what they're proposing, the CBDCs. There will not be money. There will be just the same kind of rationing points, and there will be also dependent or fully controllable. So if you misbehave and you do something that the regime doesn't like, you will not be able to access goods and services. So by people like you and me who
Yeah.
attend protests, we might be refused to buy petrol, for instance, or to buy bus or train ticket. That's what's possible with that technology.
Yeah. Punishment.
Yes,
Mickey's just put in there, use cash and keep small businesses alive, do not comply. Absolutely. We've got to keep cash alive. It's so now convenient, isn't it? Just to pay with your card and slap, slap, snap. But the more we do that, the more allowing them to get rid of cash. So many of us are trying to keep cash alive and go around and just pay as much as we can with cash and circulate it as much as we can. So yeah, Mickey, I completely agree.
I found that clip, but I just can't download this to this software I'm using. So sorry for
Okay,
that.
it's a shame.
Mm, That's quite powerful.
Very powerful, especially coming from such a young, innocent girl who was very wise and knows so much more what's going on in the world than so many adults. So, and she was such a great speaker, and she spoke with humour, and she, like was really shouting out these corruption, this greedy people, as she called them. Mm,
I can't download this into live stream, but I can play audio from that clip. So maybe we'll do that.
yeah.
Okay, got this. So
Yeah, Kay's just said that young girl was amazing. She was indeed. Uh, Whoever her parents are must be so proud of her. Yeah. How dare you? Yes. Somebody's just Mickey's, but how dare you? Taking like the Mickey out of Greta Thunberg, who we know is just a crisis. Well, just, an crisis, just an actor, isn't she? She's part of it all. 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 She you just trying to find the clip there to share? Whilst you're trying to find that, I was just looking today at who owns the media. And can you, I don't know if you all remember a guy who made like a documentary called The Monopoly. And he kind of said how we're being completely controlled, what we eat, what we consume. Everything is just like Monopoly about four major corporations, isn't it? These huge giants. But when I look at the UK media, it's saying that it's divided into three, and they're probably owned again by these three or four corporations. But DMG Media, who own Daily Mail, Metro, the Mail on Sunday, they own 38% of the media. And then News UK, 32%. So that's the Sun, the Times, Sunday Times, TV and radio. And another company called Reach, which is 19.42%, which is Daily Mirror, Sunday Mirror. But we just know that by the media owned by just a few corporations, that we just do not have diversity. We don't have different voices. They won't allow discussions that go away from their agenda. And, there's no debates, is there? So it's a complete threat against us as the individuals who don't get a chance to get our voices out there to the people who really need to hear them.
And then technological block, because limiting reach. Um, when I was doing live streams from protests, I had like combined million views. In a normal world, in normal circumstances, this should be promoted by algorithm. If you're live streaming or you're doing live video, which is really interested and viral, then you're getting rewarded with the reach, because then platform wants to bring as many people watching. But likes of Facebook, YouTube, they went really hard on censorship, and they're limiting our reach. So this is like two ways of censorship. So they were trying first to vote so-called internet harm bill, which in on the surface it seems to be addressing online bullying, but it isn't. It is just a way of censoring, because then you can have, if you got independent page, you can have it taken down, or you can be basically struck off, like if you're outside of platform. So this is just giving them extra tools, because you can get banned on Facebook, you can get banned on YouTube, but
I'm
then you
sure
can
you have, and
still,
I have.
yeah.
Yes.
So
Mm. And
it's
it's hard
encouraged.
when you're using these kind of platforms to run your business. It's really detrimental, isn't it, when suddenly your whole is taken off, or you're being censored. And I also think, because I'm all to do with natural health, and I'm a health coach and nutritionist, therapist, and obviously all about helping people to heal in a natural, holistic way. So that's been completely censored. I used to have a really big reach on Facebook, but now if I put anything about my business, one or two people might see it. If I put a picture on of my cat, lots of people can see them from my cat. But anything to do with my business, no. So we're really getting so much censorship.
And again, this is boils down to building monopoly, because same way with the lockdowns, when small businesses were completely restricted to operate, they were stopped. All the big players, they were allowed to continue. So all the Asda's, Tesco's, Amazon, they basically transferred all this money that they printed out throughout the lockdown period to those businesses that they were operating. Literally, that was the biggest wealth transfer that we ever X period, and then it continues under disguise of energy prices, which are primarily based on tax. So we're paying hidden tax. Price of fuel, mostly it's a tax. So that's
Mm.
additional revenue. We're just funding this government that does not work for us anymore.
No. Hmm. So, are you able to see how many people are able to see this? Because I can only see 3 people commenting. So, are we only reaching 3 people?
I see 9 people on the live
Okay.
watching, but again, this is something we have to do regardless of how many people
Yeah.
is watching.
No,
If we put this content out there, like I'm not sure you expected, like you did live video, but you never know how many people effectively will watch it. So the question is to discuss this. And then another thing is that um, as aside of fighting propaganda, I want to bring normal people. I don't want to have like celebrity wannabes. I want normal people to be able to speak up their mind.
yeah.
We're not getting on the platform in mainstream media, and we now have to replace the real media because historically, the role of media was to hold people at power to account. So journalists would be like dogs sniffing around them and getting on the politician's case, where we see none of that. All these conferences, they were like literally transferred from North Korea when dictator was saying something, and all the journalists were just clapping. So
Mm,
we're living in that period. So it is important when we step in and we
yeah.
take over the media, because then I think you're more credible than BBC. So
Oh, of course. I hope people see that we're coming from a genuine place. Yeah.
yes, that's what we need. You just did short video. It reached over 1,000 people. You explained this in simple language, so I wanted to show that, and as well just show people that this is easier than they think, and they don't have to be like somebody special. They don't have to work at BBC to reach to people. We need to encourage and educate people about what's going on, and just give them uh, encouragement, give them example.
Yeah.
So still people are commenting, interacting,
Good.
which is good. So we need to, and this is just on Facebook. I got 12,000 people following on my main account, and unfortunately I can't stream live there. So
Yeah.
we're losing reach, but you never know effectively how many views we will have. So it's a
Yeah.
question. It's a question
Oh,
of being
like what,
consistent.
yeah, like what Mickey's just wrote. I am normal, but living in a very abnormal world. I think a lot of us feel like that.
But then the point is that there is more of us than them, and if we don't educate ourselves and don't empower, then we need to. What we will do? We'll accept this? No. So I think that's the way forward. Is you, me, everybody around. We need to engage and stand up to this. I want to support people like, let's say, Debbie Hicks. She was organizing that protest in Oxford. She's very clued about local government. I would like to see more and more people like this standing up for local election. We should fund them. We should support them. We should talk. End of the day, if we want to democracy, we should fight for it.
Yeah,
So
completely. Because before all this, I'd never been interested in politics. Just
neither
wasn't.
do I.
Whereas now I'm like, yes, I'm interested in politics. Yeah.
That's the thing, because we delegated the responsibility to politicians, but
Mm,
as I was always thinking, okay, they're corrupt, they're always making their side deals, they're pushing policies, and there's nothing you can do about this. But then I realized like how their policies are affecting our life, and If they will be telling me that I can't leave my home, then I'm sorry, this is not happening. And the way forward is not just politics itself, but then non-compliance. We need deliberate mass non-compliance, because they will otherwise normalize all this. So ostracizing people, um, we need to say no and stop this.
Well, another thing, on a monthly basis in your town, they'll be having council meetings where you can go as a member of the public. And one of my friends went yesterday to the one that was happening in Burnley, where I'm from, and apparently they were discussing about raising the council tax. And these people who, we haven't elected them, they're just choosing what to do with our money. So we can start attending these meetings and seeing what's going on behind the scenes and having influence on these councillors that are in our own local areas. So start talking to them. When all the 5G posts started going around where we are, we went around to a lot of councillors' houses and knocked on their doors and said to them, "What are you doing about it?" And they said that they had said that they didn't want it. But because it was coming from the government, higher government, it was pushed through without the councillors having any word or any say in it. So we've got to be aware of these kind of things, and we can go to these meetings and start getting informed about what's happening.
With local councillors in Sheffield, they were interviewed on a local radio, and a Sheffield councillor, I can't remember her name, she said that it is what it is, and she said if we don't do it, then government will do it. Like literally, like they're 13-year-old helpless children that
Yeah.
just have to do their thing without any reflection on how this will affect the town that they were actually choose to represent. They were choose
Yeah.
to govern. So this is absolutely hilarious and then obscene behavior. How can you say something like this? It is what it is. Like, okay, we're wrecking the town. Guys, it is what it is. How bad can it get? And if you've seen the video by Debbie Hicks, she attended actual meeting of Oxford Council, and they had the nerve to put screens. So the councillors, they weren't even present on the meeting. They just put screens. It was absolute
Wow.
1984 scene where you just have three TV screens talking to people in the room, and you will not be able to get in touch to your technocrats. Uh, absolutely, absolutely disgraceful. So that's why I
Mm.
wanted
It's disgraceful.
that's why I wanted to speak with people like you, normal people, not people who crave for a
Mm.
limelight and they just want to get some of attention, because that's the way to educate
Mm.
people that anybody can make a reach, make a noise. I'm nobody special. I just grabbed my phone, I started live streaming, and effectively I had like combined million views. But then the way I look at this is like some small protest, like 50 people protesting in Hull, I had 14,000 views. So like effectively bringing 14,000 people. Or same, if this video will be watched even 500 times, it's the same like talking to
Mm.
500 people. It's like leafleting, reaching. So we cannot underestimate our reach. So being consistent and like being role model, that's very important. I had one person on the stream commenting. Her name is Sue. She's one of the warrior moms. I would very much like to do podcast with her. She was interviewed by Anna Breeze. Same, that's person who would like to more stay in the shadow, but she was making placards. She was putting awful lots of effort into it because she's worried about the future of the children. And
Mm.
We know this for a fact that way over 50%, 50 to 60% of the all people who came out to protest, they were women's, moms,
We were
grandma.
talking about that today. Yeah.
Yes, so that is very
Mm.
empowering to see. But again, we need more of that. We need more of normal people to understand that what's going on is a threat.
Yeah. I think at first, when the protests were happening at the beginning, they were really well attended. And I think people have just got a little bit kind of, don't know, thinking that they don't matter and that they don't need to turn up. But the more numbers we can get to these events, it's kind of really uniting it, isn't it? This is what I find when I go to a protest. It is just such a upbeat energy, and that everyone's so happy just to be together. Because I lost my friends at the protest because I was just wandering off giving leaflets. Lost my friends, but I didn't need to worry because everybody there was part of my family. It just felt like you're just really united with everyone. Everyone's
Even
so
even
happy to
feedback,
be together.
even feedback now. Great stream, guys. Get the message out there.
Yeah. And
That's
and
one of the
also, I
things.
think the more we go out together and we show that we're just normal people who've got worries about our children and everything, people can see that we're not this right wing movement or this fascist movement that they try to label us with. We're just people doing the right thing for our families, our children, our friends and family in the UK. We need to, and the globe. It's a bigger thing than just us, isn't it?
This is one thing that I noticed it too, because and especially like in virtual world, I will talk about Facebook now. I had before this whole scamdemic 2020 started, I had 1,500 connection on Facebook, out of which there was like 500 people that I knew, friends, family. I knew them in person, and about 1,000 people that I followed because of in my interest in property or in business. So I was basically following certain profiles. I was reading thematic groups on Facebook, and I was very selective who to add. I didn't want to see cat videos popping on my screen.
Yeah.
So at a certain point when I started being vocal about this, and especially like with having audience of business people, very critically thinking and skilled people, I was very surprised and like very happens, and very disappointed that about half of them deleted me and blocked me,
Yeah.
even though we met in person. And some of them I work with, I shook their hands. I wasn't disrespectful in any way, shape, or form. And because I just said no and I started exposing what's going on, they just deleted me off. So crazy. And two people mentioned this on the stream, and I had several messages like this on Facebook. Not many people are very technical with their kit, with technology. So for them to have account deleted, that's one example. 10 years of Facebook, they deleted me.
Mhm.
I was struck of Facebook, 13 years worth of memories.
Wow.
And those people, they don't know how to back up their data. And I had few people messaging me about same. So all their family photos, when they got used to post it, because that's what originally made Facebook popular, just posting your family picture, posting
Mm.
diary of your life. Yeah. It's now being deleted because you will speak something that technocrats want to censor. It's really disgusting.
Yeah. No warning, is it? Just gone. Yeah.
Yes,
Mm.
so but still we can use the same technology to show us normal people saying no. This is double-edged sword. So as much as they're using propaganda, And that's again, that's the very reason why I wanted to speak with people like yourself, like Sue, normal people who are attending protests,
Mhm.
because the first weapon of propaganda is aimed to dehumanize opponent. So when you stick label um, on the opponent, then you dehumanize them. Now you're not human being. You're now anti-vaxxer. You're conspiracy theorist. You're mob. You're fringe, like Justin Trudeau, fringe minority. then, so when they stick the label, then in the mind they're like allowing this. They're allowing now this attack to escalate, because now we're not attacking brother, sister, neighbors. We are now attacking some entity. They're not human. They're disease spreading rats. We know this from history, how this end up.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to give voice to normal people, because again, as much as you might be shy, and I'm shy, don't get me wrong, I wasn't born into like, oh, podcasting, I'm running around with camera. No, this is something I had to get used to. But I'm using this, and nobody of us, none of us wants to do it. Yeah. So for you to come public, for me to come public, it takes courage. It's very stressing. One of the most stressing thing for people is public speaking. So to speak in public, and then on top of that, to speak and to do media, this is a real challenge. But
Yeah.
then,
Especially when you know it's a controversial subject and that a lot of your friends, well, I don't know about you, but my friends have unfriended me, like you say, or think I've just this. I got a message from one of my really closest friends, 35 years friendship, and she says, I'm going to have to unblock you because you're a danger to society. Right.
so you're a
Um,
danger, but then the person who will be charging her for leaving her house is her friend. It
crazy.
it is crazy times, but we have to push back. This is about numbers game, and what brings me hope, and why I'm positive about this, because again, if I would just give up on this, I wouldn't try to do anything. I think we got right numbers. There was an article by infamous BBC, but I would like to use this. We just need 2.5%, 3.5, sorry, 3.5% rule. So 3.5% of the society actively pushing back, they can make positive changes in the society. So in that case, it's just 2.4 million. We've seen 1 million people on the streets of London, at least 1 million, and we know that about 20 million people refuse medical treatment. That was pushed down everyone's throat. So our numbers are between 20 million. So I reckon at least 10 million people, they are adults in some sorts of,
Yeah.
I would say, financial capacity, who are able to vote, or to maybe do something themselves, or to fund activism or political party, to say that, voting doesn't work or system doesn't work. I don't agree with that, because I would very much encourage to vote, but for people who will actually represent us, who will be accountable. So to say like system is bad but do nothing about this, and to not produce alternatives, is not good enough. It's very lazy thinking, just being sofa anarchist, sitting on your phone and doing nothing. Then that doesn't work.
Yeah. And I think we have seen a turn, haven't we? Because at the beginning, it did feel like you were very alone with your thoughts about things. But we found our tribes through Stand in the Park or wherever you find your tribe. And now you can see, I know a lot of time I feel like I might be speaking to an echo chamber because I put something out and everybody kind of agrees with me. But you can see that our numbers are growing. So I really do believe that we're close to that number that you're suggesting. Was it 3.5%? And there is all across the world. I've got so many connections on Facebook with people from so many different countries, and they're all messaging me saying that they're seeing the same, that numbers are really, people are aware of what's going on.
Robert Kennedy Jr. said this, that I thought it seems like we're overwhelmed. Our numbers, they're only growing, and like people on our side, they're not changing back. Once they see the way
Mm,
the society is run, and they're not happy, they don't want this technocratic tyranny. They will not switch sides. So we're just growing stronger. And then one thing I noticed was that while we were protesting throughout this scandemic period, some people, they genuinely believe that they are at risk of dying, that the pandemic is real. And I noticed that there were, I call them normie people, who started asking me questions on that day. So they would never question the pandemic narrative, and actually we had a disagreement on this.
mm,
But now, when I just said, listen, now you will have to pay to leave your home, now it's finally getting to their mind
mm,
that this is not right. And the question I had was like, what group is that? What political party is that? How can I find more information? What's going on? That was very encouraging. So, as much as we might think, okay, how many people will watch this video, or, you know, you never know what the outcome is, who is watching. And it's not just like about video, but this is about doing things in real life, because like you just did what I did, just grabbed your phone, you just speak your mind.
mm,
And we need to do this because again, people around us, they are influenced by us. Because I would very much rather trust person who is trustworthy for me is person I know, not the media news, especially with their propaganda. So I would rather much speak to normal people. I'll just show
mm.
that comment.
Yeah.
I feel for you. I had the same. I'm literally just devoted mom who used to do fundraising and charity work and had a community award before the pandemic. I genuinely care, yet money disowned me. It's still, it is a bit of
Mm,
a discouraging that some people,
yeah.
they push back because they don't understand what is going on. But then us understanding what is going on, we got this duty to say no.
Mm. Well, this is
And
it, isn't it? It's just this feeling that it would be easier just to be quiet. But I don't, I've ruined my business. I used, like I say, use Facebook to grow my business, and I was really, doing very well. And now my business is, but I just can't not do what I'm doing now. And I look at people who've got big audiences, influential people on Facebook, like business coaches or something. I know they're wide awake, but they never mention a word. And to me, I find that frustrating because they have influence. They could really help to show people what's going on, but they choose to keep their business going instead of. So I just can't be like that. To me, I have to be genuine and come from the heart. And yeah,
that's why I wanted to speak with you. That's very reason, because we need more of genuine, normal people to speak their mind up. And we are not present in public space because of that, because of first technological restriction, and then all the attempts to smear us. They got all the multi-million propaganda machine against us, and that's what people don't realize. They are broadcasting 24/7, 365 days a week. Throughout this pandemic period, there would be no you if you would travel in any town, you wouldn't be able to move about, I don't know, 250 meters, like zero point 0.3 mile, zero point 0.2 mile, without seeing any visual clue like billboards, placards, stay home, warning sight.
yeah,
They completely blew this out of proportion. But then if you understand the like power of repetition,
mm,
power of it's simply this saying, like if you repeat lie 10,000 times, it will be accepted. So that's how they work. But then again, people like you, they got credibility in normal area. So your circle around you, they will trust you, not what they will see on TV. So people don't understand that fact. So this is very important. And I'm the same. I just told you about 1,000 business connection on Facebook, and some people that I actually knew and I did business or I paid them for training, they actually deleted me.
Yeah.
That was very disappointing. But then, end of the day, this is their call, and they don't understand that they are not that big players as they think they are, and they will be screwed by the system. They will be in exactly the same position like us because they're not multi-billionaires attending Davos conference by their private jets, unless they are them in that group. Then perhaps I understand their point of view. But other than this, on a small business, it's still micro in the scale, and they will be obliterated when this system will be rolled out. So let's say just cashless society will effectively restrict any business activity. You won't be able to save money. You won't be able to invest. You will be told what you can do, what you can't do with your money, which effectively will kill capitalism, and we'll just have ultimate monopoly. So no small business, and that's what they're doing consistently since beginning of 2020. Like pretty much every action, lockdowns now, the ransom price of the energy, and this is just derailing more and more people. And all the condition they're doing is to discourage people. So then they will just have few operators. You can only get food from A or B. There will be no competition. The ultimate scenario for totalitarian dictatorship.
Global, isn't it? It's not just that global organized dictatorship. Mm.
Yes, but this is just a nightmare scenario. But then I want to end this on positive note, and I really
Yes,
like
you
to
do
thank
that.
you for taking time and for your courage to speak up.
Thank
Um,
you.
that's what's important. Now we are speaking up, we are standing up, and we cannot never underestimate what is going on, because even those people who, I know that I still got followers who didn't delete me, but they're just on the fence. So they are more likely convinced, I think, to like be obedient to the government, but then they're watching. So you
Yeah.
never know when the tipping point will be for them. So this is important. And one thing to finish is like in Poland we were taken over by communistic regime after World War II. So since 1945 till 1993, effectively, we were under this regime. And if people wouldn't stand up, and that was down to my parents, their also grandparents, the two generation really stood up and just say no. So the regime change didn't happen overnight, and it won't change overnight. So in the older times, it took 48 years to change the regime. So I think this will now take less time because we got technology. We got, let's say, during communistic time in Poland, we wouldn't be able to do broadcasts like this. We wouldn't
Yeah.
be able to go out on public platform and to speak. People were literally to self-identify. They would be hanging radio resistors on their cloth so they can be identified. So same like, let's say, people would stand in the park, they got this smiley faces. You can put this, and then this will encourage other to speak to you. Or if you're going with the yellow placards, etc., then you know that you're one of the guys to speak to.
Yeah.
So this was as bad back then.
Right.
So it's nothing is set. Nothing is future is not predetermined. That's what they want. The small group of people want. But we are the majority, normal people. So we can still influence. And again, we just need 3.5% of people like you, me, and everybody who is engaging in that movement actively pushing back. And that's the message really from that podcast. Like, you need to speak up, no matter what you think. Just, we need to get our act together, or otherwise we're giving this without a fight. That's the positive message. Your message went um, viral. I think I say over 1,000
I
views.
just looked, it's over two and a half thousand now. So
Yeah.
it's getting out there and people are watching it. But I've noticed, when people use, because it says it's been shared loads of times, and usually when it's shared, you can see who shared it and where it's gone and see if there's any comments, but it's not letting me see any of that. So I don't know where it's gone or who's watching it, but at least people are watching it.
So it's not just Facebook, but that's where I wanted to show real examples. So real people speaking out, taking the courage, taking their act together, saying no. One thing I noticed in Oxford, that same people who went out on the street protesting in 2020, they were still present. They were still on the street. And
Yeah,
I see this time and time again. I've been on many protests. I see same faces. I can't possibly memorize the names, but
yeah.
I see the faces. I can recognize same people, and that's the message. So we need to stay strong, take over the media, fight the real disinformation which they're pushing on us, propaganda, and yes. So thank you
Well, thank you
for
for organising this and starting this podcast. That was great.
thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. Please share this video. Help us to get some reach. We're suppressed by algorithm, but we can as well compensate by sharing this to groups, to your timelines, and just getting more people engaged. And if you'd like to help, just drop me a line, and we can schedule something. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.